So, you want to hear a story, huh?
For a series all about pointing bazillions of guns at bazillions of heads, there's a surprising amount of lore bubbling behind the scenes of the Borderlands series, which is about to continue the story with Borderlands 3 later this year. If you're someone who's new to the series or have simply forgotten some of the key plot points since Borderlands 2 released almost 7 years ago, you're probably in need of a one-stop shop recap to fix you up for Gearbox's incoming prequel. So let's start right back at the beginning. The Borderlands story begins eons before the events of the first game, with an ancient alien race known as the Iridians. We don't know much about these creatures other than that A, they were almost completely wiped out by a mysterious extinction event, B, they hid their advanced technology in a series of vaults across the galaxy, and C, subsequently created warrior-like beings called Guardians to protect these vaults at all costs. Of course, it's not long, only a million years or so, before a number of bloodthirsty corporations learn about these vaults, and they're rumoured to contain vast amounts of iridium, a valuable resource that could turn any daring venture capitalist into a multi-bazillionaire.
You think they made this place big enough?
This kicks off a great galactic gold rush, where every conglomerate and their dog are on the hunt for a vault, eventually leading two corporations by the name of Dahl and Atlas to the edge of the galaxy, the titular Borderlands, where they find the planet of Pandora.
They say it's a wasteland, that it's dangerous, that only a fool would search for something of value here.
Dahl and Atlas quickly get to work colonising Pandora, but unbeknownst to them, they've arrived at the tail end of the planet's 7-year winter. As spring arrives, so too Pandora's native wildlife re-emerges, most of whom are pretty inhospitable to their newly settled neighbours, forcing them to either flee, defend themselves, or, well, die. This development throws Pandora into anarchy, as Atlas and Dahl both pack up and flee, the former leaving behind both its Gortys project, more on that later, and private paramilitary group the Crimson Lance, and the latter abandoning its mining facilities, allowing the remaining convicts turned slave labourers to roam free across Pandora as bandits. Ironically, around the same time, Dahl scientist Patricia Tannis discovers evidence of a vault key.
As I've said, Roland, now that Jack has the vault key, it is only a matter of time until he opens the vault.
Well, my name's not Roland, but yes, we're getting to that. The vault key does exactly what it sounds like, and it's on Pandora, but we'll get back to that in a bit. Elsewhere, Dahl had also been attempting to gain access to a vault on Pandora's moon, Elpis, under the leadership of Colonel Zarpedon. Mr. Torg was a big fan.
Just so you know, you're probably gonna die, but it will still be totally awesome!
The company's mining efforts on Elpis' surface causes the moon to burst open, debilitating the entire planet's atmosphere in an event known as the Krakening.
Wow, such means very regret.
Meanwhile, Zarpedon and her army actually managed to find a way into the vault, but the encounter was apparently life-changing enough to make them defect from Dahl, form their own group called the Lost Legion, and protect its contents at all costs. This, alongside the whole Krakening fiasco, forces Dahl to abandon Elpis in addition to Pandora, which brings us nicely to the events of the first Borderlands game.
The tale begins right here, on Pandora, with the brave Vault Hunters, the Guardian Angel, and most importantly, me.
Whoa! I'm doing the talking here. That's Marcus, by the way.
Get off my bus.
With Dahl and Atlas out of the picture, the scramble for Pandora's vaults is now headed by groups of fortune-seeking mercenaries called Vault Hunters, including the original Borderlands foursome of Lilith, Mordecai, Brick, and Roland. The gang begin their adventure in the small town of Firestone, home to Claptrap, a chirpy, somewhat annoying all-purpose robot designed by weapons manufacturer Hyperion.
Should an unfortunate fatal incident occur, your new you will appear at the nearest station.
From here, the gang are led by an angel who appears in their heads every now and again with the promise that she can guide them to a vault. Yes, it's weird, but just go with it. Angel's assistance leads the group to an Iridian artifact, the first piece of a vault key, but trouble arrives in the form of the Crimson Lance and their leader, Commandant Steele, who hears about the Vault Hunters' findings and demands their subjugation.
I invite you to turn yourself in at once to the nearest lance outpost and surrender any information or artifacts in your possession.
But that's obviously not going to happen, and with the help of Tannis, our heroes find the remaining artifacts that can finally open the Vault's gates to untold riches. Except, it turns out Tannis has been working with Commander Steele all along, handing the Vault Key over to her while sending her own Vault Hunters on a wild goose chase.
She used you to get what she wanted.
After catching up with Steele, the foursome arrive just in time to witness her open the vault, only to discover that the only thing inside it is a tentacled monstrosity called the Destroyer, who quickly proves good in its name by making a light meal of the Commandant's mutilated corpse. It turns out that this vault wasn't used as a safe for Iridian tech, but a prison for a living weapon, and the Vault Hunters are forced to kill it before it can make its escape. With the Destroyer, well, destroyed, our heroes return the key to Tannis, who, after being double-crossed by Steele, is back to working on their side. For now. However, It turns out that opening the vault has led to a huge influx in iridium deposits across Pandora, catching the attention of Hyperion, who, in a last-minute twist, Angel is revealed to be working for as we see her communicating from a satellite orbiting Pandora. Sometime later, the Vault Hunters are contacted by a defecting Crimson Lance assassin called Athena, who asks for their help taking down what's left of the army, alongside their last surviving leader, General Knox. They succeed, and Atlas as we know it is permanently pushed off Pandora, with the remaining Crimson Lance pledging their loyalty to Roland, thus forming the Crimson Raiders. All of which brings us to the events of the pre-sequel, which begins with Athena, now desperate... You know what, I'll let her explain it.
That is a long story. After the fall of General Knox, I wandered Pandora as a hired gun. One day, I received a job offer from a low-level Hyperion programmer. Come to the moon, it said. Hunt a vault, be a hero. I didn't trust Hyperion, but I was too hungry to pass up a paying job.
So, it turns out that Hyperion is attempting to build a new station called Helios on Elpis, but Colonel Zarpedon and her Lost Legion, remember them, are making life difficult. Athena, alongside the mercenaries Wilhelm, Nisha and Claptrap for some reason, thus head to Elpis as hired muscle. Unfortunately, the Lost Legion managed to take over Helios, with the help of a guardian known as the Watcher, and Jack is forced to send his hired Vault Hunters down to Elpis' surface to destroy a jamming signal that's blocking the local fast travel system. There, they come across Janie Springs, a local junk dealer who helps them get to Elpis' major city, Concordia, and meet up with the vacationing Roland and Lilith, now an item, who both agree to help them in the fight against Zarpedon. With the fast travel system fixed, Jack makes his way to Concordia, and deals with the town's annoying Merif. Yes, Merif, that's Mayor and Sheriff, by killing him in cold blood, leaving Roland and Lilith feeling a little bit concerned with his state of mind.
That was invigorating.
But, with barely a second to lose, Jack's Vault Hunters raid an old Dahl factory to build a robot army and retake Helios from the Lost Legion.
Alright, go Team Robot Army!
Zarpedon is thus defeated, and, in her dying last words, she reveals the location of Elpis' vault.
I've seen what lies inside it.
But, she also warns Jack that entering the vault comes with a cost that will...
trigger a chain of events...
Yikes. While on Helios, our Vault Hunters also run into a man by the name of Professor Nakayama, a scientist working on advanced AI technology that could allow someone to upload their consciousness into a computer after death. He's also obsessed with Jack, so keep that in mind for later on. At this point, Roland and Lilith have turned on Jack, and are now racing to the vault in the hopes of beating him to whatever lies within. The Vault Hunters are on their way too, fighting through an army of guardians and clearing the path for Jack, who enters the vault and touches the mysterious relic within to be gifted with a vision of another vault on Pandora, this time containing the Warrior, a fiery beast that will serve anyone who sets it free. But, right in the middle of the epiphany, Lilith enters the vault and sucker punches the relic's burning symbol right onto Jack's face. Leaving him rolling on the floor in a dangerous mix of agony, rage and delusion. Jack, now severely disfigured and mad with power, dons a mask and a new title of Handsome Jack, killing the CEO of Hyperion to take control of the company for himself and begin the search for the Vault of his visions, with a serious vendetta against any Vault Hunters who stand in his way. He also learns of a secret weapon hidden deep within Claptrap's software, autopsying his former gun for hire to try and find it for himself.
Are you freaking kidding me? You hid it in there? How the hell am I gonna get it out?
The weapon actually allows Jack to destroy every Claptrap unit left in existence, before dumping their corpses in Windshear Waste. But our original robot pal is luckily found and restored by a local hunter, Sir Hammerlock. This final act on Jack's part is enough for Athena to leave his services in disgust, moving back to Pandora with Janie and finding work as a full-time bounty hunter. And so we've reached Borderlands 2. It's time to meet 4 new Vault Hunters, Axton, Zero, Maya and Salvador, who have arrived on Pandora in search of riches promised by Handsome Jack, who's been recruiting for help uncovering the vault from his vision. But wait, Jack's been luring Vault Hunters to Pandora not to enlist them, but to kill off the competition. And our heroes find themselves left for dead in the frozen wastelands of Windshear Waste after their train is blown up by Hyperion explosives.
Welcome to Pandora, kiddos.
Thankfully, Claptrap arrives to save the day, having been living alone ever since Jack dumped his bucket of bolts in the tundra at the end of the pre-sequel, and he escorts the Vault Hunters to his new BFF Sir Hammerlock in the town of Liarsburg.
Wait a minute! You're not dead! Yes! Now I can get off this glacier! Claptrap, your metaphorical ship has finally come in!
Angel is back too, appearing in the Vault Hunters' heads again and asking them to help her defeat Jack for good. Her guidance leads them to Sanctuary, a city for those still in rebellion against Jack's rule, including the Crimson Raiders. Their leader Roland has been captured by bandits though, so the Vault Hunters set out to seek help from a siren bounty hunter known only as the Firehawk. Sirens, by the way, are female warriors with iridium-powered abilities, of whom there can only be 6 in existence at any one time. So far, we've met 3, Lilith, Maya, and Commandant Steel, who's confirmed to be a siren in the Borderlands Origins comics. The former of whom turns out to be the elusive Firehawk, now strengthened by the increased presence of iridium on Pandora and in hiding from Jack ever since, well, you know what.
Hey, handsome.
With Lilith's help, the Vault Hunters rescue Roland and begin their hunt for a Vault Key, which is currently being transferred by Jack on a Hyperion train. They ambush the train with the help of Mordecai and Tiny Tina, a teenage explosives expert, but the whole thing turns out to be a trap, and Wilhelm, now one of Jack's right-hand men, shows up looking for a fight. Inevitably, the Vault Hunters defeat Wilhelm, and siphon his power core to replenish Sanctuary's defense shields against Jack's barrage of artillery from Helios.
Sanctuary's shields may never need to be recharged again.
But that turns out to be a trap too, as the core instead destroys the city's shields, forcing Lilith to teleport the entire city away from Helios' firepower. At this point, Angel has something to confess.
Angel's working for me.
Lowering Sanctuary's shields, Jack.
She's been unwillingly working for Jack this whole time, charging the Vault Key to release the warrior and destroy Pandora, but she's had enough. She provides her location to the Vault Hunters and, once they arrive, it's revealed that not only is Angel actually a siren, she's Jack's daughter, who he's imprisoned as a living power source for his Vault-obsessed quest.
Jack spent years pumping me full of iridium, using me to charge his key and manipulate his enemies.
The Vault Hunters, alongside Roland, Lilith, Mordecai, and a recently recruited Brick, must kill Angel to deprive Jack of his secret weapon. But, after the deed is done, the Hyperion villain teleports in at the last minute to murder Roland and capture Lilith as his new subjugated siren of choice. With the key charged to completion by Lilith, Jack makes it to the vault to release the warrior, leaving our Vault Hunters with the tough task of taking it down before he can unleash it on the rest of Pandora. Eventually, the warrior is killed, and all that's left to do is put a bullet in Jack's brain, which, we have to admit, is deeply satisfying.
It's over. It's finally over. Good going, Vault Hunter. You are a badass.
By this point, the Vault Key itself reveals a holographic map showing dozens more vaults scattered across the solar system, encouraging our gang of Vault Hunters to begin the expedition for yet more fortune-seeking adventures. But we're not quite done. Last, but certainly not least, we have Tales from the Borderlands, which takes place shortly after the events of Borderlands 2. It's difficult to recap Tales, not only because the story differs radically depending on the choices you make throughout the adventure, but because Gearbox hasn't actually confirmed which parts of the narrative are canonical to the series at large, making a full recap both somewhat impossible and a little bit pointless. With that in mind, we're only going to cover the need-to-know stuff from Tales that's relevant to Borderlands 3, so apologies if it sounds like we're skipping over crucial details. Meet Reese and Vaughn, Hyperion underlings slowly trying to make their way up the corporate ladder and become the next handsome Jack, and Fiona and Sasha, Pandorian sister grifters about to make the con of a lifetime by trading a fake vault key for cash with 2 Hyperion minions.
This latest scam was our biggest yet.
You can probably see where this is going. The foursome eventually find themselves banding together for a vault hunt after stumbling across a map to Atlas's Gortys project. Remember that? Gortys, as it happens, is a robot designed by Atlas to locate, open and stabilize vaults across the galaxy.
Hey, wow, hey! Really great to meet you all.
But she needs to be upgraded with a number of parts found on both Pandora and Helios before she can do so. And so begins a long and eventful adventure. But here's the important stuff you need to know. Ready? Okay. Reese accidentally uploads Handsome Jack's AI consciousness into his brain via Nakayama's neuro implant. Scooter sacrifices himself during the gang's rocket trip to Helios, which itself, by the way, is completely destroyed.
You see Moxie or Ellie, you tell him I did some awesome shit, okay?
After which, Reese becomes CEO of Atlas by finding the deeds to the company from the ruins of Jack's office, forcibly removes the villain's AI from his mind, and eventually, once the gang find the vault, he and Fiona mysteriously vanish into thin air just as they're about to open the treasure within. At some point, Athena also joins them on the adventure, but she's captured midway through by Brick and Mordecai for interrogation over her involvement with Jack during the events of the pre-sequel. Back at Sanctuary, she admits her crimes to Lilith.
You've got some explaining to do, Tiger.
But before the siren can bring about her execution, the Watcher turns up, preventing any further bloodshed and warning the Vault Hunters that they'll need all hands on deck for an impending war to come.
War is coming, and you will need all the Vault Hunters you can get.
Sometime later, Lilith is struggling to live up to her responsibilities as the commander of the Crimson Raiders. The Watcher's words of warning have clearly given her pause for thought, and the crew still have that map of vaults across the galaxy, but Sanctuary's barely holding it together, and the likes of Mordecai, Brick and Tanis are getting agitated by her inaction. But before Lilith can finally come up with a plan, an assault led by New Pandora, a group of X-Dial soldiers under the command of Colonel Hector, captures Sanctuary via weaponized gas that turns anyone who breathes its fumes into zombie-like plant people. The Crimson Raiders are forced to flee their city, but with the help of new allies like Vaughn, now the leader of a band of former Helios refugees, Lilith and the Vault Hunters take the fight back to Colonel Hector on Sanctuary. By the time they get there, however, the Colonel has injected his own toxins to become more plant than human, and part of the city itself, forcing Lilith to destroy Sanctuary alongside Hector and the Vault Key with it. In light of Sanctuary's decimation, the Siren finally steps up to her calling as commander of the Crimson Raiders, and rallies the Vault Hunters to leave Pandora in search of more vaults.
We have to find the vaults before they fall into the wrong hands. We have got to keep searching. And that means leaving Pandora.
She, however, is staying behind, as she knows as well as you and I that the Vault Key is unlikely to have been destroyed for good. It's Borderlands' most famous MacGuffin, after all, and in a post-credits tease, this happens. With that in mind, Borderlands 3 is set roughly 4 years after the events of the Commander Lilith DLC, and introduces another 4 more Vault Hunters into the mix alongside a new villainous duo in the form of the cult-leading Calypso twins, Tyreen and Troy, the former of which is the 5th Siren to emerge in the Borderverse. This retrospective is long enough as it is though, so we'll hold off on any further speculation for now. But rest assured, you can expect a ton of familiar faces, callbacks and ongoing story threads to feature in Borderlands 3. And, having just caught up on every crucial plot detail, I'd say you're more than ready to experience the mayhem. See you back on Pandora soon, Vault Hunter.
Hey, you must be the new recruit. I am a CL4PTP steward bot, but you can just call me General Claptrap.